Welcome to Community with Closers. I'm your host, Pat Clark, and this is where closers are born. Get ready for high-energy stories, game-changing strategies, and the relentless pursuit of success. In each episode, we dissect the art of sealing the deal, celebrate triumphs, and explore the grit that defines salesmanship. This is the ultimate podcast for sales warriors ready to conquer the business battlefield. What's going on, guys? Pat Clark here with another Community with Closers. We want to thank you guys for being here. If you're on Spotify, if you're on YouTube, or you're just checking it out on Facebook, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We have an amazing guest today, a really good friend of mine. Husband and wife team have been crushing it, absolute powerhouse of a team, and they're doing some really cool things. And you know, it's a blast getting on here, and I know you guys are enjoying all the episodes, but please make sure that you give us a little 5-star review, share it out. We love the support here at Community with Closers. So thank you again. I want to introduce you guys to my good friend, Rick Nies. What is up, brother?
What's up, Pat? How you doing? It's good seeing you again.
Yeah, man, doing well. I'm actually in New York this week, so
Nice.
you know, it's good to see the old city again, you know?
Yep.
But
Good.
I want to jump into it, brother. I know you got a lot of cool, exciting things coming up. I've seen some of your posts, following you on Facebook there. So I want to just dive in, man. Trying to open it up, if you would, with your story, how you got in the industry, kind of that meat and potatoes right there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We'll start off. We're going into our 15th season. And like you said, Jami's my wife. Jami and I have we run the company 100%. She's 100% involved. I'm 100% involved. But yeah, how we started was back in 2009. Even a little further back, I worked for a company, probably 2005, for about 3 years, running a crew doing dealership car washing. That was a great. I did that for about 3 years. I kind of got out of that, went into concrete, did concrete, got out of that, and in 2009, the recession was hitting pretty hard with my doing concrete. So I just was talking to a buddy I used to work with. We're like, hey, let's do some dealership cars on the side. I bought a little Home Depot power washer, and we just started going around to all the little car lots and saying, hey, you know, we knew how to do the thing. We washed them. You know, at the time we were doing like $1 a car. We were just showed up, washed them, and one lot said, hey, man, you're showing up consistently. I got a friend. Hey, I got a friend. Like 6 months later, I was buying a little bit better machine. I bought a 3/4 ton truck, you know, put the water tank in it. And, you know, we did that probably for 5, 6, about probably 7 years. I had 2 crews just washing dealership cars. We were doing about 12 to 1,500 cars a day. You know, at the time we first started off wiping them down, then we went to a reverse osmosis system, just rinsing them down. So 2 guys would just knock out cars left and right. We had all these huge we had the biggest dealership network in the in the area, you know, all the little ones. So yeah, we had a lot of stuff. Then as we tried to raise our rates, a lot of guys were kind of undercutting us, and you know, I was going through looking what could I add on. We added on some drive-through restaurants, stuff like that, and that was night work. And when we wanted to really make some money adding our value, they're like, yeah, I like you, but I can find someone else a little cheaper. So we were just coming across, I'm like, well, maybe I'll start power washing houses. You know, started talking to homeowners, saying we do a better job. You know, we're actually doing it the old-fashioned way with the extension, actually power washing, not using any SH, you know, strictly just getting in it. And I was just like, dude, this is for the birds. We were coming across some videos of some other systems, stuff like that. Started getting into SoftWash, got with SoftWash Systems. That's where I originally met you, Pat. Got a system from there, started working on our systems. That was back in 2017. I think you trained us and Jami and some sales training. And I think that year you got your $1 million ring from AC. That was pretty cool. Knowing you over the years. You know, we built our company just that. Now, you know, many years later, we had our one truck and we had that fully booked out. That did about 300 plus K last year. Then I did some other power washing stuff on the side where I did a little over 100,000 just with me working with dealership cars and other stuff. So we did about 425 ish with basically one real rig and a part time rig.
Yeah.
So it was really good. We got our second rig going. You know, you were our Conquer coach a
Mhm.
little over a year ago for about a year, and that really
Yep.
helped us get to the next level, stuff like that. But yeah, you know, we're here. We got the second rig rolling, a good territory manager, a good crew. We're looking to hire two more. So I don't know. I don't know that. Try to do all that in a nutshell, real quick.
No, that's awesome, and I want to unpack that, right? Because
Yeah.
you can say that quick, right? But there's a lot of like crushing of the grapes, as our good friend Josh Latimer would say. But when you were going full time, so I want to rewind to you're washing dealership cars because I was there too, man. Like same exact thing is crazy because they come out and they're like, yeah, we got guys that'll hand wash these things for 50 cents a car, and you're like,
Yep.
heck no, you know what I mean? Like, not possible. So, like, let's take you back to that era. Is like, when did you kind of like put both feet in to go full time? What did that look like? Did you have to, get enough money from the washing to supplement from the concrete, business when you're making that paycheck? What did that look like?
Yeah, so it just kind of happened by accident, knowing how to do the job of cars, um, and concrete up until June of 2009, most hours I work were about 30. The year before, by the time June was hit, I was working 60, 70 hours.
Mhm.
I was kind of it was a small company. I was kind of the boss's right hand man. I was doing a lot of the power washing, a lot of the setup work, a lot of running the crews. Really wasn't paying much. And then it just work never got there. And I'm like, just moved in with Jami about a year earlier. We didn't have any kids. And I just started washing cars. And, within a couple months, I'm like, I'm making more money washing dealership cars than I
Yeah.
was. It was a lot of hard work, with, my
Mhm.
buddy couldn't help me all the time. So I would spray them, wipe them, spray them, wipe them, spray them, wipe them.
All by
Um,
yourself.
Right. Yeah. But they were, they liked my hustle. They saw I was there all the time. The smaller ones were paying me. They were paying me every week.
Mhm.
It wasn't until I got to the bigger ones where it was monthly or some of them would, you know, get in payment issues. But yeah, I just kind of was like, hey, back in, I guess, July of 2009, my boss is like, hey, I need you to dedicate full time. I go, I can't do full time. I can help, but I'm really hustling with this and I'm making more money washing these cars than I am actually working for you. So I went full time just a month later, really.
Nice.
Um, and it was, yeah, I would work for my boss. I never really burned my bridges with the contractors and the bosses that I did work with in the past. So I was like, hey, if you need help, they'd call me.
Yep.
But yeah, for the most part, it was pretty much full time right away. But it was, the first couple years, it was, I'm going to go back to concrete. I'm going to go back to concrete. Even when I was doing, I saved up enough money to get that, I had a Mighty M heated machine. I still have it in the back there. It still works. It's probably 12, 13 years old.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was doing drive-throughs and stuff like that. It was probably 2 years later, I went into doing the drive-through restaurants.
Nice. That's awesome. Like that's a story, right? Like when we talk about sales, that's brute force, going knocking on doors, getting dealerships, getting restaurants, and it's overcoming that fear, but knowing you got to provide for the family, right? Is like got to get this
Yeah,
work because I don't want to be doing concrete, but in the back of your mind is like I'm going to go back to it because it's actually easier to do concrete because you're just clocking
yeah.
in, clocking out. You're not doing the business side of it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah, it was easy. When I did my dealership cars and then the drive-through restaurants, concrete cleaning, it was quarterly, it
Mhm.
was usually weekly, bi-weekly, or just call me whenever for the dealerships and with the drive-through. So when you got the account, as long as you didn't charge too much and you were reliable, you kept it. Yeah, you had a clean good. I was always going over the top. I was probably doing more than most companies, but that's just the
Mhm.
kind of guy I am. If I see some dirt left on a car or a piece of curb that, I need to stop and hit that curb real quick, or someone does a delivery and leave tire tracks when it's wet, I'm going to break out and just rinse it off and all that stuff. So I was doing a lot more than what they're paying, but that's just the kind of guy I am with the detailed
Yeah,
that I get.
love that. All right, so transition. So you started washing houses, and It's funny because I did the same thing, right? You get into this and then you're like, you're making money, but you're like, I'm not really making money. You're making enough to
Yep.
pay the bills, but then you start diversifying. So let's jump into that. Like when you started washing houses, what was that outcome?
Yeah. So when I very first started washing houses, we're probably talking about 2012, 2013. Just dealers would be like, "Hey, can you wash my house? Can you wash this?" A lot of managers of the drive-through restaurants, "Hey, can you wash this, Rick?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I heard a lot like, "Oh, bleach is bad." There wasn't Facebook, there wasn't YouTube,
Yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, I guess it's bad, sure, right?" I really didn't know, so I'm like, "Well, that's one of the reasons why I got the heated machine is, well, one of the reasons was the drive-through, and they're like, "Well, use your heat. You can use a soap and stuff." And I was like, using the heat, and I was like, "But it's not doing anything. It's I have to get close." And I was kind of blowing stuff off, and I was charging what I thought was good. Three, four, $500 for a two-story, one story. I felt like I was always charging what I should have been. I never
Mhm.
really did square footage. I would look at the house and just look, all right, I can get it done this amount of time, and then say I'm going to wash it. It wasn't doing windows, just a basic house washing, concrete cleaning.
Got it. So you're doing that, right? You're getting a little bit of momentum. SoftWash system comes in a couple years later, right? So that
Yeah.
tell me about that because I know that was transformational for you.
Yeah, so I was back in 2015, 16, I was on YouTube, looking at YouTube, and I was always like, oh man, I hate using the power washers. I'd run my two machines, they're so loud. And there's just one thing I was like, man, is there a way to do it? And I was like, oh, this thing's a soft wash, and I got introduced to an X jet. So I was X jetting for a little while. And I'm like, but still I got a batch mix and this and the 5 gallon bucket, and I saw AC stuff. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And he's like, oh, 12 volt, 12 volt. I'm like, oh, that dude, I like it. The booster pump and all that. You had to have a little generator, but I was loving it. And then I was looking at equipment from a different company, and they were mainly doing I think they were doing some blend stuff, or it was before I was like DPI and blend. Like I was coming in right at that time at
Yeah.
that mixture, and they were running downstreaming or whatever they were doing. I'm like, that, and I like with SoftWash Systems, it was training and some other stuff. So I went, it was probably at the time like 20 something thousand. I paid half, and every time I'd see a new video from AC, I'm like, oh, I want electric hose reels. I want this. Oh, I can get this. I can do spot free water with windows. I already got a spot free water. I just need a tank to hold it. Hey, I want this. And I was calling my rep, and she's like, all right, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, hey, I'm doing, it was Whitney at the time. I'm like, Whitney, I think I'm doing your job for you. And she goes, Rick, we're busy. And I'm like, I understand, because they were just kind of, when I
Yeah.
got down there, it was just a whirlwind and they were
Mhm.
busy. But yeah, back in 2000, April 17, basically April 11th of 2017, I went down there, got my skid, brought it back. I didn't tell Jami. So I told Jami, hey, I'm going to Florida. It's 10 grand. I forgot to tell her it's another 10 grand when I go down
Oh,
there. Then and then I got back. I'm like, I need a water fed pool. I need this. I need that. So, at the
yep.
time, and we spent it all. It was all in cash too. I didn't really
Yeah.
get any loans or anything like that. But yeah, it changed me getting that system, the training that they gave me, and then also going through for the sales.
Mhm.
It helped us a lot getting that down. And the cleaning was just night and day from what I was doing.
Yeah, a lot easier, quicker,
Oh God, yeah,
replicatable, right? So you can hire some people to do it, and you don't have to worry about them, with the pressure washer marking up screens and
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
So when you started that, you came back. So we were talking about earlier, you're just quoting jobs at that one time. You're just looking at the house.
yep,
So after coming back, you got the skid, you got the training. What did
yep.
your prices look like? What did your company? How did you level up from that transition?
So yeah, at the time, I think we were at that time. I think we were doing some measurements,
Okay.
but when we did the training, we went on site with you guys, and a couple other guys were there training and measuring stuff out. And at that time, I was still on the truck full time. So Jami was transitioning into the business full time around the 2017. She did a little bit, but until we 17, she really came on board full time. And she was kind of helping with estimates, and she was doing that. And I think that was real good with her because we were starting out around like the 17 cents, 15 to 17 cents a square foot. She was doing the measurements and she was kind of unsure too on selling it and just getting practice. But the more she did, the better she did. We did some more training, sales training and stuff like that. And then, as we progressed, I was getting more training. And then eventually I started doing some trainings for some stuff with SoftWash Systems. And that got me a lot better at sales and employee retention and running a company altogether.
I love that. And that's it. It's like, for people watching, it's like you want to pour into you because when you change, your business will change because you'll start implementing those things. Your leadership goes up,
Yeah.
right? Like the tracking goes up. All those things will go up, but you have to invest in yourself before your business is going to change. So that brings me to my next question is like when you're doing that and she's doing the sales. So tell me about like a memorable sales experience. Like what was something that like really popped out to you? It might have been a high ticket. It might have been, a customer saying, Rick, you guys look like a franchise or whatever it may be. What's a memorable sales story that you can share with us?
Yeah, we'd get a lot of the "Are you a franchise?" and we'd say no because we'd already had the shirts and the wrap. But it was probably one of our first big ticket items that Jami went to, and she did an estimate, and she's doing the measurements. And now it's a no-brainer house or whatever. But
Mhm.
she's doing the measurements, and she's coming up, and she goes, "Man, I got this house. It's like 3,000." She goes, "I think it's too much." I'm like, "Well, how big is it?" And she goes, "Yeah, I got the windows, I got this, I got that." I'm like, "Yeah, I think that's right. I think we should do that." And she goes, "All right." And she was kind of nervous, but she went in there, presented it to them, and then they're like, "Yeah, let me think about it. I have some other people." Well,
Mhm.
they had called other companies, and either the other companies didn't come out and just gave them a price over the phone, or the one company that did come out, they weren't professional. They didn't even know what they said they soft wash, but they didn't know what their own soaps were. They didn't really know much about it. And they go, "I'm picking you. You are like double or triple," I think is what they said. But
Yeah.
I'm confident that you know your equipment. And they were blown away that Jami knew all this stuff. They're like,
Yeah.
"You're a girl coming out here and you know more than these guys that are on the truck running it." So, and I think we end up doing that for 3,400, added some
Yeah.
other stuff on. And that was one of our first big ticket items. And that just kind of changed it from there, realizing, hey, the more confident you are in yourself and your sales, it's easier to close those ticket items because your customer's your customer. If they're not
Yeah.
your customer, they're not going to go with you no matter how great you are. But yeah, that one sale right there just clicked it for us and said, hey, that's what we want to do. And it was great from there on out.
I love it, man, because that's it, right? Like, in our industry, people are like, you can't get these prices in my market, right? How many times have we heard that? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, if your presentation's on point, if your brand is on point, right? And you are educated to be able to educate the customer and turn them into somebody that's selling for you, it's a no-brainer, right? They're going to be like, okay, let's do it. And you don't know what you can bear in your market until you start raising your prices 20, 30%. And then
Yeah.
you're like, wait a minute, I'm still landing jobs, right? And you're doing less work for more money because you're bringing more value. And that's exactly what you guys were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's being confident and knowing what you're doing and doing the same thing. Like there are times where we're getting like we would get below 20 to 30%, and they're like, no, no, no. And we're like, oh, and we're like, well, should we drop our prices? Should we do this? And we said, no, let's just stick with it. And then, in one day you could all automatically sell every job you're at, and you're doing 10 to 15,000 in a week easy.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, and yeah, picking out your customer and who that is, but it's just staying with it. I hear a lot of guys like, I can't get it, I can't get it, I'm losing estimates. I need to be at 70 to 80 to 90% close rate. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, then you're way too low, you know.
Yep, and that's it, right? There's telltale
Yeah,
signs. So I always say, like, success leaves clues. And so when you're saying I need to be at 80, 90% close ratio, you don't. Why would you, I'd rather be at a lower close ratio with my higher ticket, right? My ADL, which your
yeah,
average dollar per lead, over your quotes for the week. And so those are things you got to track. And, unfortunately, I wasn't doing that in the beginning, right? I don't know about you, but I wasn't tracking in the beginning. I was like, shoot, sales are coming in, you know what I
yeah.
mean? And
Not the beginning, yeah.
but at the end of the day, if you're not tracking your, ADL and you're not tracking your sales for the week, the day, you know what I mean, the month, you can get at the end of the month, you did all this work and you're at a 90% close rate, but you didn't make any money.
Nope.
Man, that hurts.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah, 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 and now we have a team, and we do a Monday morning meeting every Monday, no matter what. We're in here, everyone's in here. Even when it was just me and Jami, we would do it. Now we have our two technicians, territory manager. We're going to hire two more, but on Monday we have these apartment complexes. It's going to take 3 days. Well, we have 3 days locked up, but we only had two other bigger jobs for like Thursday and Friday, and our average for the month was 30%, 35% closing. Well, yesterday I'm out helping the guys. I'm dialing in the new rig, and Jami calls me and says, I just sold $8,000 that we have to get done Thursday and Friday. So the guys are finishing the job. So they have $4,000 they have to get done in 2 days, which that blew my mind. I'm like, well, I'm doing other stuff. And that's including like I have some weird one-off power washing stuff. We don't normally like a wood fence I normally don't do, but I'm doing it for a friend. I got another weird job I'm doing after this. But so I can help the guys, but at the end of the day, we're looking at our numbers like, well, we need to get them up. We weren't panicking because I understand, it kind of comes and flows. But you could have one day where you're closing real low, just stick with it. And then even the next hour or two, you get a bunch of calls. We had a lot repeat customers. Jami was out just emailing, calling repeat customers, stuff like that. And yeah, we got it closed. We got it closed, and it's a great end to the week. Just got to get that work done.
And that's it. Yeah. And so when you guys, obviously she was doing the sales, you're doing the work. So what did that schedule look like, having that full-time salesperson, because I know you were doing the sales too in the beginning, and then you're also doing the work. What did that transition look like? And I know you're doing really good on your truck, but I know with having a full-time salesperson, that brought in more sales per the week. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So hiring our territory, we had a territory manager many years ago. She worked out great. Then we had a couple throughout that time, and they wouldn't listen. You know, they wouldn't do the program. We
Yeah.
call it staying on model, and they wouldn't do other stuff. We got Corey now. He's working for us great.
Mhm.
It frees me more time to kind of close jobs, do a lot of my networking stuff. That's just where I came through today. I do a bunch of chamber stuff.
Mhm.
And Jami can kind of do more office work and stuff like that until we get our admin back end stuff. But we trained him a little bit longer. He went through a 2-week training with Jami and our training through SoftWash Systems. And then I worked a week with him doing door knocking, talking to the customer, getting more feel. He had, that doing in-person estimates with Jami, then doing in-person estimates with me.
Nice.
And with him, he likes to door knock, and he had a couple good ideas. He door knocked one door yesterday and sold 1,800 that we have booked for next week. So
Nice.
it does pay off. When you do door knock, I tell them you need to door knock, and it's going to take a while or something. Or say you're doing the neighbors when the guys are washing. We mark
Mhm.
everything down: how many doors answered, how many doors did he knock, and how many estimates did he get from his door knocking.
Yes. Yep. Tracking it, man. Holding them accountable. So, in your experience, what are the most common sales mistakes business owners make, and how can they avoid it?
So the biggest one was that definitely, I think it might be number one on a lot of lists, is not asking for the sale. You're
Mm,
out there, they ask you to come out, ask for the
mhm.
sale. And then when they say, well, I need to talk to my husband, and I learned this a lot from you, Pat, was, hey, are they home? Can they be here? Or try to, a lot of times too, you can't get them in. That's fine. I understand it, but we want to try to close that sale, but yeah, asking for the sale. And then if their husband or the decision makers there, try to get them to come out to talk with them.
Yeah.
Another one is, um, not doing in-person estimates all the time. Like we get a lot of guys locally that I only do them if I can't see them on Google. I only do them if it's over 3,000 square foot. If it's a big house, we'll close houses that are smaller all the time that aren't the multi-million. Nowadays, what a $400,000 house is like your normal house, I guess. I don't know your average, but Corey just sold a trailer, a mobile home, 675, something like that. And we're doing the house windows and final wash. But he he sold it. We'll wash anything if it's right where our minimum is, but yeah, just
Yeah.
doing the in-person estimates and being confident, getting training, whether it's through your sales boost or to even go on, go on YouTube and get it. Just watch out for those YouTube gurus that they say you can make 1 million in a year and then they never really done the job themselves. You got a lot of those guys.
Mhm.
But just getting someone reputable and then getting out there and spending the time doing it.
Yeah.
That's what you need. You need the reps. Like anything else, football, baseball, MMA, whatever. You need the reps. You're not going to be a superstar in one day. It's going to take months, maybe years, but you'll get it.
I love it, man. That's huge. All right, so real quick, we're jumping to a little commercial break. We want you guys, obviously, we appreciate everybody here, Spotify, YouTube. If you're hanging out, Rick is dropping some amazing nuggets. We appreciate that, Rick. And so for the viewers, guys, make sure you check out, we have a private Facebook group called Closer Nation. Make sure you check that out. But please, you can like, subscribe for all these new things coming up. And there's a lot more awesome conversations here at Community with Closers each week, Eastern Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. So thanks a lot for that. So Rick, with the next question here, we're talking about what's an actionable advice. So what actionable advice would you give a business owner looking to achieve sales breakthroughs in 2024? I know it was a tough year, right? Like kind of getting started. The weather was kind of weird. Obviously, we're in an election year. We got a lot of weird things going on. But, what are some actionable items that, viewers can watch just to kind of like boost their sales in 2024 this year with an election year going on, those kinds of things?
Yeah. So we do a lot of boots on the ground. So we do our Google AdWords. We don't really do any Facebook stuff.
Mhm.
We don't do any of the Angie, the next door stuff. We do a lot of boots on the ground. And a lot of guys are the signs. In my area, I'm in St. Louis area, St. Louis, Missouri area. Certain municipalities, man, as soon as you put a sign out, they'll take those signs.
Mm.
So we'll put them out. There's a couple good companies that, man, there's one company, man, he puts out the signs. And I'm like, man, that guy is getting it, right? We put out a sign strategically, and we get good calls off of them, but it's doing your door hangers, talking to the neighbors when you're working at a job. Having that nice wrap truck or even just letters on the truck or a magnet, something like that. Don't be rolling around in a blank truck. um, Talking, maybe joining your chamber, maybe joining a couple networking events, work those networking events. You got to be there on that. Yeah, just stuff like that. Cause I think boots on the ground nowadays is where it's at. A lot of people, I think they get a little bit bigger. Hey, I got a crew on the truck now. I don't need to do the door hangers. I don't do the
Mm.
guys. When you do your estimate, territory manager has to knock unless he just has no time to knock, and he does his door hangers. We don't do too many other clip flyers anymore. We need to start getting back into that. Um, but doing your door hangers, the 5 rounds, the check it outs, our crews out there, they're putting a sign out, they're doing their door hangers. The territory
Mhm.
manager's putting a sign out on the corner. If we sell the job there, we have our sign and it says coming soon. We put a topper on it and stuff like that. So they know, hey, that house is going to be washed by MidWest SoftWash. We take the coming soon sign off, we leave it on there and we wash the house. So
I
yeah,
love it.
little stuff like that make a big deal.
Yeah, and you have a system, you know what I mean, that the whole company is involved in. And I think that's the
Yep.
key thing is like where, business owners, they're like, I got to do all this stuff. And you're going to drop the ball because that person can only push the ball so far themselves. But if you get the whole team involved and you have a system and like every time you go to a job, you do, 8 check it out flyers or whatever it may be, have a system for you and your company and then replicate that thing. Make sure that it's working. Check in on it on a week. Because how many times, Rick, have we had technicians, you're like, all right, do these, and they work for 2 weeks, and then you're like, wait, what happened to the flyers going out? It
Yeah.
drops off. So,
Yeah.
like you said, that's where those meetings come in play.
Yeah. We have a whiteboard in the shop and it has for the day, then it has how many signs they put out the day, how many door hangers / check it out they put out the day. And we have our lead sheet with them, and if they talk to someone, they need to write their name, number, and get that number. Johnny, our lead tech, he's great. He goes, yeah. I got a lead, but I forgot the number. You're like, Johnny, oh no, and it's great. We were kind of ribbing them all. She never called. She never called. And he goes, oh man, next time I'll get the number, and then the same day we were giving him a hard time, that lady called. So that was great. But usually if you just give them a door hanger, you talk to them and don't get their info, they might not call. They might forget it, put it on the counter, might get in the trash by accident. Who knows? And they're like, oh, that one company, soft something, soft what, soft, nowadays, everyone's SoftWash. Back in 2017, I had other contractors like, who knows what soft washing is? They're like, you're crazy. You need to be power wash. I'm like, no, I'm going to educate the customer, let them know what soft washing is. And now everyone's soft wash. But yeah, just stuff like that, write that number down, get their info and be proactive on giving them a call.
Yeah, that's so important. Okay, so to wrap it up here, we're right at 30 minutes. So I always say we got to keep these things 30 minutes, 45,
Yep.
at the max. That way you're working out on your way to work and you can get some good stuff. So how has your industry evolved over the years and where do you see it heading?
Yeah. So just like I spoke over the years, everyone was just doing strictly downstreaming. I was even power washing on all that. So the soft wash is kind of getting out there. A lot of guys are doing downstreaming and stuff like that. I think more guys are going to like a 12 volt and doing an air diaphragm system. So that's pretty good. And they're kind of getting into that realm. I just feel like it's better to it's easier for the guys to work with, not lugging a big power washing gun and a wand down, a little ball valve and a little hose that's real light. And then where it's going, I'm really seeing stuff about drones. If you have a lot of big commercial properties, huge stuff, big apartment complexes that are 5, 6, 7 stories, hospitals, I see that being a real good opportunity to get yourself a drone, moving into that because I think they're becoming more reliable. I've been to a lot of the trade shows and they're a little bit more, they're building them for our industry a lot now, a little bit more bleach resistance on the parts. And I've heard some good things. I haven't necessarily seen them in use, but I've talked to guys that have used them before and they said they're great. And then a lot of automated, doing the push button on the fly. A lot of companies are coming out. I think AC has something, and there's other stuff, changing your chemical on the fly, your soap on off with the machines. That's kind of been around, but I think that's going to start to be more prevalent too as people want to build out these skids that are these elaborate, huge skids. They want to make it a little bit easier on them. They're not walking to the trucks. I think stuff like that.
Yeah. No, it's been really cool to see like the skids, just the development of the skids. Back in the day it was a pump and 3 tanks, and now it's like,
Yeah.
this elaborate thing. And it's really cool because the industry is really evolving, which is bringing obviously prices up, professionalism up, you know what I mean? So I'm
But
excited to see.
yeah, there's one thing I want to say about that though, is yes, the skids are, we have, I just got my second skid. It's an older model, but you cleans up, looks brand new, works brand new. But even if you have the Home Depot power washer, even if you're bootstrapping it and you don't, you're saving your money to get it, you can still raise your prices, go to your guy, get a nice shirt and, get it lettered out or something, show yourself as it, get some training, learn how to clean the proper surfaces and get that done. But raise your prices, because if you have low overhead and you're charging 17 to 20 cents a square foot and I'm charging 20 to 25 cents a square foot on a basic clean, you're going to make more money than I would, and you put it on your pocket and get used to it. So as you grow, it's not hard to expand, and you're not like, oh, I'm at 10 cents and now I need to be at 20 if I want to get a shop. You got to pay your taxes, you got to do all this stuff that people are like, they don't realize until they have to do it. And you're like, well, I'm never going to be able to get crews on the truck. I'm never going to be able to hire guys. If you start now when you're on the truck and you're working it, you'll make more money, do less jobs, and it's easier for you to grow.
So good. So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. Systemizing it chunk by chunk. You know what I mean? This isn't going to happen overnight. Obviously, this isn't YouTube, right? Where you're going to be making $1 million
Yeah.
in a year or two, but it slowly grows, right? And you foster those customers. And I think you guys do an amazing job with that, Rick, is like,
Appreciate
hitting
it.
your customer base, you know what I mean? And having those people come back, see those repeats coming back. And that's how you build your book of business as a sales professional, right? Because they're going to remember you. You were there for them.
Yeah. we get it. We get it all the time. And in the groups, we have a group that's IKEG. It's Ask a Guy and a Girl group. We're usually the number one recommended company. We got another company out there that they're recommended pretty well, but it's just doing a good job. We got a lot of our customers, like you said, they turn into advocates for us, agents for us, and we get tons and tons of referrals, just people doing a great job. And Google reviews, we get 2 to 3 Google reviews a week. And people's like 2 or 3, but man, Google reviews are hard to get. They got to
Wow,
log in, put their passcode in, and get those. And sometimes we might even get 5 or 6 a week, but we average a good 2 to 3. Yep.
that's awesome, man. Good stuff. So what's to come? What's next? I know you got your new truck. You're going to be putting that on the road.
Yep.
So what's to come for you guys?
Yep. No, we're looking to grow. Yeah, we got that second truck on the road. We just got it. Now we're looking for 2 more technicians. We're going to get that truck wrapped. Hopefully get that going. We got a lot of stuff in the works. We've been working on some we've been working the last year and a half. We've been working on HOAs, apartment complexes. We understand it's really hard to do those with one truck because
Mhm.
it's going to clog up your cash flow. I love residential, man. I love it. Jamie loves HOAs. So when we decided we're going to get the second truck, we planned it strategically. We're like, let's get the second truck. Let's work on these HOAs. So when we do have the second truck, we're going to have all these HOAs, apartment complexes, and that's what we're doing. We just
Love it.
we're working on a bunch of HOAs right now in apartment complexes, and we're Jamie just did an estimate. It looks like we're going to close a big gutter cleaning, some gutter cleaning jobs that are about 25,000 for HOA, and yeah, we're looking to a little over double what we did last year
Nice. Yeah. And if you
if we
do
can.
that, you keep doing those
Yep,
commercial, that's how you do it right there. Keep that
yep,
bread and butter, that cash flow coming in with the resi, and then,
yep,
yep, put them on long term for those commercial. Sweet,
yep,
man.
yep.
Awesome, Rick. Well, I appreciate you, brother, being
Yeah, I
on.
appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. You dropped a lot of nuggets for the viewers, and we really appreciate that, man. I love the success. I love the momentum.
Yep,
Um,
thank you.
yeah. So I wish you guys the best this year. Thanks again, dude, for being on Community with Closers.
Yeah, it was great. We appreciate it. Thanks, Pat.
You got it, brother.